still believe.
Lord save us, don't you care that we not perish? You know, and so they were playing the role of a victim, you know, and they end up blaming God for the storm, you know. And sometimes we see ourselves as victims when we're actually the victor, you know, over the storm. We have the power of the storm, but if we see ourselves under the weather and not over the weather, then that's what we're going to be, under the weather. And we have to realize we have control of the storm. Now, I ain't preaching no sermon.
Oh, you're not.
But if I was to title it, I would say it's not your fault, but it is your problem.
Hey.
It's not your fault, but it is your problem. And so sometimes the storm's coming and it's not our fault, but it's our problem to deal with. And that's what Apostle had preached on one time, you know. And what you're going to do when the problem comes, are you going to blame everyone else? Or are you going to take responsibility and say Jesus is in the boat? And I can make a change and I have the power because Jesus is my power.
Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. You said I'm not preaching, but if I had a title. Oh, Jesus. Hallelujah. That's amazing. Amen. Woo. Where were we? Hallelujah. So the storms. Amen. So let's keep on reading and where are we at? Yeah, 14. So Matthew 14 verses 22 and through 28. And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, where the wind was contrary. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. Let's stop right there. Okay, there is another situation, similar to the first one. What happened before is when Jesus fed the multitudes, like the 5,000 plus families, right? So they just experienced this great miracle. But this time, some things are slightly different. Jesus is not in the boat right away. Okay? Why do you think is, I'm just thinking, why is it that Jesus was not, or no, why is it important? Because everything that the Bible tells us about, everything that is written is important. There is something that we can learn about. So this time, Jesus is not on the ship or in the boat right now. So why do you think this is the case? Too deep? To try his faith? Amen?
I would say, all honors given, also honors to my husband. I would say that as we mature and we grow in our faith, it's like with our children. At first, you walk them to the bus stop. At first, you're like, hands. And then there comes a time that they're, Mom, I'm good. I'm all right. I can walk to the bus by myself. I can go to class by myself. So there comes a maturing within you that, God is like, now it's time for you to do what I've already put in you, what I've already taught you to do. So he has that confidence in us that we should operate in a certain way.
That's awesome. Amen. I like that. Amen. Okay, so he tells the disciples to get into the ship, and then he himself goes away and goes to pray on the mountain by himself. So and then evening was come, and then it says that they were alone in the ship, and then the ship was in the midst of the sea, and then there was a big storm again. And it says the fourth watch. So the fourth watch is between 3 and 6 a.m. So it tells me there is a pretty long time where Jesus was still letting them handle the storm by themselves. So there was evening, and then it doesn't say when the wind started and when the storm started, but by the time when Jesus appeared to them, when Jesus were there for them, was walking to them. Oh, we haven't read that, but it's okay. It was already late, so they were already fighting the storm by themselves for a couple of hours. And when they finally saw Jesus, saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled and saying, "It is a spirit." And they cried out for fear, like, "Oh, you know, it's a spirit." Like, sometimes when we go through something and we're we feel like we're by ourselves. We feel like we in ourselves, and this turmoil is going on, this storm in our life, and we are so, because it's been for a while, we're so perplexed, we're so delirious even, we are so exhausted that even when Jesus does come, even when Jesus is on his way to help us, it can be in another person, it can be in a situation that starts turning around, we do not recognize it. And this is, yeah, and instead of seeing God for who he is and seeing his helping hand and seeing him approaching us with help, we operate in fear. At least that's what, I don't know about us. Not, the disciples did, I'm sorry, not we. Of course, we not, because we are, what are we, storm walkers and 300 and life changers and all the good stuff. Of course, we not, we know exactly what to do. But the disciples, disciples, they were operating in fear because they were overwhelmed, they were exhausted, they were just panicking again, and they didn't even recognize when God is on their way. Do you know somebody, since it's not us, or a hypothetical situation where we get, or people get so exhausted and so delirious that they don't even recognize when God is trying to help them? Yes. I put a question mark behind. I'm just kidding. Okay. Do you know somebody, or maybe you even for yourself experience something like that, when you are experiencing something like a storm, and you get so overwhelmed, exhausted, almost like delusional, that you don't see when God is approaching you with help? Okay, Mike is thinking about it. Deaconess Wilson.
I knew somebody, amen. I knew somebody, and she was so feared, so full of fear, that it put her in a state of paralyzing her, because she witnessed somebody that was very close to her lose the fight of cancer, and she was so feared because she didn't understand that all the prayers and all this, and still she lost that person. And 3 months later, this person had a sister who was diagnosed with breast cancer after they buried their mother.
Amen.
She was so feared that she didn't see God, she couldn't hear him, she couldn't pray to him. And so going forward, it took her 2 years and a whole bunch of life-changing prayers to go to the doctor to make sure that she was okay. But because she was so full of fear, she couldn't step into the doctor's office. And she knew God was still over her, but she just couldn't see him, and she couldn't hear him. So, yeah, I know somebody like that. And I thank God that she overcame that fear, because she walked out breast cancer free and all that other stuff. And then I said, oh, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Listen.
I can only speak to me. The Bible always tells us that we're saved by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So I can say for me, when I was going through my hard time, moving up from Germany the first time, when I was told by someone in a position of authority that I think to get back to Germany, that even though I had to go stateside to get new training to the Deerfield, I was coming back. But when I found out I wasn't coming back, I was so angry that I forgot that if God brought me here, He's not going to leave me. And through the course of being gone, you don't know, but I lost my mother-in-law within the first 3 days on grounds to cancer. 6 months after that, I lost my dad's youngest brother to cancer. 6 months after that, I lost my dad to cancer. 6 months after that, I lost my dad's sister while I was, again, 10 miles away from my family. And in all that, I saw that the man of God had spoke that, you know, some people do this and they're going to experience tremendous loss. And I forgot about that. And I didn't realize that God was bringing me stateside so I could be there to support my family through all this loss. Because had I been still over here with a family of 5, I couldn't afford to have gone back and forth like that. And in the midst of all of that, God would take me to a point where I had to learn to trust Him. I had to learn that if He truly got me on this walk, that no matter what it looks like, He has to guide me. And He began to show me as I began to talk to different people, and they were just so amazed. I was amazed at stuff that came out of my mouth, but it was what was taught to me in here in Life Change. And had I not been where I was at that time, how many souls would have been lost? Because God put all of us in each other's path at a specific time. He's not a God of time, He's a God of timing. What the man of God taught us. And so I just, again, it was me. I went through that where I was angry. I was like, Lord, when you see my servitude, I want to serve you. Why can't I get back to you? But sometimes we have to learn to be patient and truly wait on God and know that His time is on time.
Hallelujah. Amen. Whew. Okay. Let's keep on reading. Verses, where we at? Verses 27 through, we can actually go all the way through 33. And it reads, But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then they were in the ship, came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth, thou art the Son of God. Hallelujah. It is beautiful. So they cried out in fear. They didn't recognize Jesus. Okay. They cried out in fear, and Jesus spoke to them, and they said, okay, it is me. Remember, it is me. It is I, and be not afraid. And even be of good cheer, which is kind of, be of good cheer. You know, they're about to die, and he said, be of good cheer, take courage. And this tells me there is this, the enemy to our faith is always fear. And so either, you know, we operate by faith or we operate by fear. And it can be so quickly, you know. 1 minute you're so full of faith and you're declaring and you're really not just saying it, but you're really believing it. You're full of the Spirit. You just spoke in tongue. The Lord just used you in a mighty way. Just like with Peter. He said, Peter did an awesome move of faith. Yeah, he stepped out on water. You know, he did something that is impossible. You know, but you know, with God all things are possible. But he did something that is physically impossible. Just because he said, and in this one, when I read it, it says, if it be thou. And the if, we might think, okay, he's kind of questioning God still. But the if, it's actually in the actual translation, it says, since it is you. Yeah? Since it is you, bid me to come. So he said, okay, God can do it. And before that, he told us we can do all the things. He gave us the power. So if he's doing that, I'm sure I can do that too. So he stepped out on faith. And he walked on the water. He did the impossible. But then, right a couple of, I don't know if it's seconds or 1 minute later, there is doubt setting in. So it tells me, and this is fine. This is a process. This is a circle of life. This is life. One day we can be like super, yes, you know, great Christians and powerful and everything, and then we might do it all day long, and then we come home and then we just cry ourselves to sleep because we're so full of fear and so full of doubt. And this is nothing how do you say, unusual, because it happened to the best of us. Yeah, we know about prophets who delivered whole nations and still went to the cave and were hiding. We know about, like, nowadays, I don't know, Apostle always talked about this guy who was sickly himself, but was able to preach and the whole stadium, and people were healed and everything like that. And then he still went home and was sickly, or fighting depression. We know about people all day long, because this is nature. But with Jesus' power, we can overcome the nature. And when Peter, the doubt that he had, and the doubt caused him to sink again. The doubt caused him to fall. But then he knew what to do. He cried out to God, Lord, save me. And immediately, Jesus grabbed his hand immediately, because it was life-threatening. So there, immediately, Jesus grabbed him in and pulled him out. And they were still be able to walk on the water back to the ship. Mark's, like, what's your name? I'm sorry.
So, this will be real quick.
Hallelujah.
Stand up for a second. So we're blessed that we can actually physically see faith, right?
Woo!
But the faith that she's talking about that he walked on was just as solidified as that young lady right there. And that's amazing, right? Like, if we believe strong enough, our faith can be as strong as this floor, right? Because, like, you know, there's turmoil, there's things going on, and Yvette's giving that face like, what the heck is he talking about? What I'm saying, Yvette, is this. Like, if you believe, right, that your situation can change, it can be. But if you don't believe that your situation will ever change, it won't. That's the power that God gave us inside of us, to actually be able to literally speak to a mountain and it be moved. And I think that's amazing, because the preacher's doing an awesome job in illustrating this thing. And you can sit down, sweetie, I'm sorry. But you know, can you imagine that she just gave the testimony when she was preaching? Could not have a child, didn't have a child, had a child and it didn't work out. And then we have a faith. We have a walk-in representation of the word that she's speaking on right now. That's amazing. Esther wasn't getting her kids. What did the German government tell you, real quick? Not possible. But with who? With who? With God, all things are possible. So we're looking at faith and a miracle sitting together. Come on, y'all. You gotta get a hallelujah for the teacher, y'all.
Amen. We have Brother Gibbs and then Michelle. No? Okay.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
All honors have been given. There was a scenario in John chapter 5 from verse 1. Jesus was walking by the sea, and he saw the man that was paralyzed for 38 years. Even though this man has been there for that long, Jesus recognized that this man has been going through all of this. One of the things that I saw in that man's situation was that even if his name was not being mentioned, so the Bible called him invalid. So which means his problem took over his personality.
Wow.
So this man was going through what he was going through, Now, Jesus was passing by and stopped right in front of him and asked him a question, what can I do for you? And at that point he said, I have nobody to help me. You know, this was a question. And this is the solution standing in front of him. But he couldn't recognize him because of the magnitude of his problems. So sometimes our problem could be so big that we can't even recognize the solution while standing in front of us. Even though we walk every day around the solution, yet we can't see it because we magnify the problem too much. You know, so whether you have food to eat or you are in the death row, before God, all these problems are the same size. You know, just at his word, he can say a word, and the dead can come back to life. You know, so but to us, we have different categories of problems.
Come on,
so some of them are really small, and some of them are very big, and this is how we make them. You know, if Jesus can call just by calling the name of Lazarus 4 days, and he came back to life, he can do anything.
Amen.
So we shouldn't magnify our problems like, okay, this one is too big, God. I don't think prayer can handle this. So at this point now, we have to start looking for doctors from US, you know, so not even in Germany.
Come on.
So there's no problem that big. So our God can fix it all.
Hallelujah.
Stay here and God will do it. Amen.
Oh, let's say hallelujah to our God. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. This is so amazing. It's so encouraging to be in the midst of people who truly believe in God, where we can build each other up and where we can profit about because of the testimonies our brothers and sisters have. Deaconess Bailey and then Deacon Gray.
Not that I didn't believe in God, but it's like, okay, pack my stuff, I didn't know where I was going to go. But, you know, he said, you'll never leave us nor forsake us. But, you know, I never called on him. But like you guys said, every time something comes up, we know the Lord. So, you know, it's like, Lord, you said you'll never leave me nor forsake me. So I packed my stuff. I just went out on the street. I didn't know where I was going. Then I ran into my uncle that I haven't seen in like 3 years. And then, you know, he stopped. He asked me what's going on. I told him my situation. He said, okay, you can come and stay with me. So I went home. I picked up my stuff. He came and got me. I went and stayed with him. So he was there for me when I needed him.
Wow. Awesome.
And Jesus was walking on the water, and they said, it's a spirit, and they cried out for fear. They didn't recognize Jesus. And see, when I say Jesus, I see him as God in the flesh, you know, God in me. And sometimes God is moving, and we don't recognize when God is moving, you know, because we have our opinion about how God's moving. But we had to recognize that, you know, sometimes God moves in the small people, you know. She can move in faith and say something right now, but can you hear God even if a child is talking to you? He's talking to the child. Can you hear God through somebody you don't like? You know, can you hear him through your supervisor? You know, do we recognize when the Spirit is moving? Because Jesus was moving, and the disciples didn't even recognize it was Jesus. And so that's why I think it's very important for us not to have our bias way or try to have God figured out and say, you know, yes, he's going to talk through it. He may not even talk through the channel who you think he's going to talk to. You know, he's going to talk through my sister. You know, he may not be talking to your sister. You know, and we just have to recognize when God is moving, because he's not always going to move the way we think.
Amen. Amen. He's not a respecter of persons. Amen. And just because, like, we cannot look at somebody and already have a preset opinion about them. And like I shared a couple of times, but you might not have heard. So there was a sister at the church, and we became deacons together. or deacons in training, whatever. But I've been at the church for a couple of years, and she just came to the church. And then, she was moved by the Spirit, so she asked me, like, what's going on? What's wrong with you? And I was like, it's kind of funny because, you know, you just came and you I don't know, that's not even like me, but I was feeling like that. So I was like, it's kind of funny, you just came and you're going to be a deacon and I've been here for it and I'm just going to be a deacon at the same time. This is kind of, and she looked at me and she was like, it was no attitude, nothing crazy. And she's like, just because I'm new to this house doesn't mean I'm new to God. So we really need to be careful about how we, you know, like just because somebody just got here, just because somebody is a brother or just a first-time member or a first-time visitor, doesn't, they can't have, you know, like a super great testimony like our Elder Breer has. You know, he was almost dead and then God revived him, right? I didn't have this type of testimony. So just because I'm here and I have a whatever position, doesn't mean nothing to God. You know, he can, like you said, he can use anybody to talk to us, as long as it is you know, lines up with the word and everything like that. Yes, Eldon.
Hallelujah. All others have been given. Like everybody has been testifying and saying, you know, God allows us to go through things, tests, trials, and temptation for our own good. Because the Bible said the testing of our faith produces patience. But in all this, are we going to stand? Are we still going to trust? Are we still going to believe? You know, because it's our faith that has been tested. You know, so at the end of the day, after standing, after praying, after not looking at the storm, you know, but just speaking peace over yourself, and you come on the other side, and that thing or that thing you are believing God for comes to pass, what do? We give God the glory. So it's like, without a test, like they say, there's no testimony. So you go through with the right attitude. Of course it's good to cry. Of course it's good to be afraid. Like me in my time before my kids came, of course there were days that I cried. There were days that I was afraid. There were days that, you know, I was just perplexed. But I was still dust up and I was like, God, you said it. You told me. You showed me. And the vision shall speak. It shall not lie. I endured. Yes, it was hard. Yes, it wasn't easy. But I still hold on to the faith. And now at the end of the day, I'm still a wonder. Me and my children, we are still a living testimony. We are still a wonder to the eyes of people around, to the eyes of the German, to the eyes of everybody that knows me. So, am I taking the glory? No. The glory goes back to God because He is the one that has done it. So at the end of the day, no matter what you are going through, just hold on. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be afraid. Gideon was afraid till God showed him what he needs to do. It's okay. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to say, God help me. The only thing that you're not allowed to do is to give up on God.
Come on.
That's the only thing you're not allowed to do. You can cry, you can sit, you can whatever, but don't give up on God. Amen.
Hallelujah. That's amazing. So, like, what if Peter, like you said, don't give up on God? If he would have been like, oh, I'm saying, oh, it's never gonna work, and you called me Satan, get you behind me, you rebuked me in front of the body, it's never gonna work, so I'm just gonna give up. And he would have just sunk in. We would have never heard of it. So, and like Pastor Elder always said, when we recognize what God has done for us, and remember in the first scenario, the first storm that they have experienced, Jesus was with them. Verse 27, it says on Matthew 8, it says, but so the disciples marveled, saying, what manner of man is this, that even the winds and the sea obey him? And 14 and 33, now they experienced this miracle, and now they said, then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, of a truth, thou art the Son of God. So now we see a process of maturity that has taken place. At first they were like, wow, you know, like still immature, like kids, oh, great, cool, how cool is that? But this time they recognized, wow, this is the Son of God. And they began to worship and they began to give him the glory. And so, you know, when God does things, we cannot just say, wow, that's so cool, you know, he did that for me, he made a way, but we actually have to come to a point where we give him the glory. And everybody who knows about the miracle that we experienced, everybody who knows how God sees the storm, how he calmed us down, they need to know that it was only by the grace of God. And not just because we're so great and wonderful, not because I read on the internet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps to happy marriage or whatever. So, hey, no, we cannot open up this box. Okay, how about it? Deacon Gray. We have 5 minutes.
Peter walking on water because a lot of times we say he take his eyes off Jesus, and I was looking. I said, whose eyes was Jesus on? But he didn't sink. In the water, even though Jesus' eyes was on Peter, and sometimes when we see things with our eyes, then it will cause us to sink. But when we look through the eyes of God, when we look through the eyes of Christ, when we look through, then we won't sink. And whose eyes are we looking through? And it's important for us to have the mind of Christ. I think when our mind is on God, then it don't matter where our eyes is looking. We can look at anything and we can see a revelation because we see God in a problem. I see it's a storm, but I see God in it. It's the winds and the waves, but I see God in it. And that's what I really believe, that in order for us to walk on the water like that, then that's what we have to do. And it's a matter of who we're listening to. And when our eyes, not just our eyes, our ears, we have to be focused on listening to the word of God and not just what people are saying. I think the man of God preached on this too,
Yes.
He stepped out the boat and the other disciples were in the boat, and they had a lot to say, about him walking on the water, But the Bible said, he that had ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit had to say to the church. Not what Gray had to say to the church, not what brother such and such had to say, because a lot of people, they're going to have their opinion, but when we're listening to the Spirit, and if we listen to them, then we will sink. But if we listen to the Spirit, then we'll be able to walk.
That's awesome. Amen. Amen. So I think that concludes our teaching. And Deacon Gray touched on it too. Like, Peter didn't ask the people before he stepped out. He didn't ask, oh, guys, I'm about to step out. What you think? I'm going through this or whatever. You start asking, your mom who's not even saved, or you start asking like your colleagues who don't know God, and then but Peter immediately, he didn't acknowledge, he didn't ask them, he immediately stepped out because he saw God, because he had the unction of the Spirit to step out on faith. So whenever we dealing with a situation that is that can be overwhelming, can be just outrageous, we need to remember that God has power. Jesus has power over everything, over nature, over the storms, over the demons, over the sicknesses, over everything. So be encouraged, and let's walk by faith and not by sight. Amen. God bless you. Huh?
No, they didn't give you the count?
9.